beauties, welcome back. It's Jen's Heart. I have a real game changer today to talk about. How are you feeling? Little reminder that in new year you can start working a little harder and aim a little higher. But remember to take care of your body and mind. Relax your shoulders and your jaw. Don't stress. You got this. Okay, so depending on purpose, I've been calling them thumbnails, composition sketches, pre-sketches. We are talking here about those tiny small drawings in sketchbook, officially called thumbnails. I cannot quite remember when I started using thumbnails, but initially for sure they served me more like a studies rather than an exploration of an idea. Time passed and I used various possibilities they provide, and since then, for every painting I do, I have a thumbnail for it, sometimes multiple ones. Side note. Well, of course, if it's a gouache study with simple composition, you probably have it figured out and don't need thumbnailing. Or those studies are the thumbnails. Either way, let me share my 5 art problems that thumbnails did solve. Number 1. Color and value. Recently I did a video on color tips, but what I didn't mention is that I don't usually start coloring until I have a clear image of which colors I will use and how it will play on paper. For when I can't imagine that or don't have color palette references or simply have doubts, I use Photoshop to help me. Now the artwork on the screen that you see is a perfect example, because the reason you haven't seen me coloring it from the beginning is that I thought I had colors figured out and started working on them on a stream. But once I laid first flats, it was obvious that it just won't work. So I stopped, took a picture of it with my phone in current state, took it to Photoshop and painted over. The quality doesn't really matter. You can do this with even if the camera is bad. Just make sure you can see the lines clearly. Then set it in Photoshop or in other digital painting tool you use to black and white and just paint over. The best thing is that you don't even need a tablet for it. You can do this with computer mouse or touchpad. Then it's just a matter of getting the proper colors on your palette. You can as well do them traditionally, but it's just less time consuming if you have an option of a digital paint over. It especially works great when you want to try something unusual. Like for me it was with leaf cast painting, because I wanted to have this kind of light green gradient and no way I could make that without digitally thumbnailing colors first. Number 2. Composition and proportions. About times when I call them pre-sketches. When I was just starting with sketchbooks, I had a problem with redrawing characters multiple times because I needed to move the body slightly to the left or up, or else the leg won't fit into the frame. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I got myself into drawing everyone so short, but back to the topic. So after discovering thumbnails, this problem pretty much disappeared because when I went into the actual sketch, I already knew where on paper I would need to start drawing so everything will fit in. Later I also started to roughly draw body structure without details, which also helped. So when I start on piece, especially on the ones that include bodies and my imagination, first step I take is to figure out everything on thumbnails. The composition, where to place the character, the pose, and often even write down the idea or details nearby. So even if I won't be able to work on it right away, I will be able to return anytime and make sense of what is happening and what the idea was. Number 3. Ideas. A lot of what we talk today is circulating around this reason for thumbnailing, which is to get down the idea and to find the best way to make this idea work. That's why I mentioned writing notes along sketches, because you just want to get it out of your mind and on paper, but haven't yet refined it, fully imagined it, which often make them really messy. And also when sketching, sometimes I don't always even have an idea. Just make scribbly line and try to go from there, framing each little sketch just to divide from one another. Number 4. Learning. I was going to talk about the never-ending choosing between horizontal, vertical, and view-frame drawings because thumbnails can help with that, but decided that starting is a wider one and include that within. So used in the right way, thumbnails help tremendously to upgrade your art skill. This tip is mostly inspired by Bobby and other artists whose 1 hour long tutorials, streams, and podcasts I constantly watch on Twitch and YouTube. Because thumbnails are small, you don't go into rendering in too much details and it takes perfect amount of time to experiment and learn. So for example, just today I did 3 tiny studies of a sunset from my window because it was bothering me for a long time to find out the transition color. If I did it on a big size canvas or even in A5 sketchbook, it would take me a lot more time to do even one of these and probably not finished either. But because I kept them small on screen and moved quickly observing, I gained what I desired. I took a step closer to understanding what is the color that I see there. Number 5. Visual library. On one of my trips last year, I spent 18 hours on the bus. And if you traveled somewhere on train or on plane long enough, you know that shakiness and ever-moving scenery outside make it hard to concentrate and draw for a long time. So witnessing all the outside beauty and not being able to capture it on the phone without a blur, I did small observational thumbnails, concentrating mostly on values and details like, for example, wind turbines or shape of the clouds, random planes, and each of them take 2-3 minutes, so I wasn't getting tired and had enough time to capture the view. I did most of them in pencil, but this year I'm curious to try it with color. And there's actually so many moments in life when I'm outside and I just see something and want to draw it, and thumbnails work just perfectly. Especially if I know that once I get home, I will forget some details or just forget about it at all. Okay, so that was my input on the topic of thumbnails. Honestly, I just love them from the bottom of my heart and they made my art process a lot easier and faster to improve and learn, so I hope you will use them to full potential. By the way, I have a little pleasant announcement to make. I started streaming on Twitch, having a nice conversation with other artists who come to chat about art and casual things, so feel free to join us. I will leave a link below for more information if you're curious. And I hope you will find your honey in using thumbnails. Keep working, keep learning, it's worth it. Carry on.